Hey,
Hello.
hey everybody, how's it going?
Happy
Welcome.
Wednesday.
Yes, happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday, joyful Wednesday, blessed Wednesday, exuberant, exuberant. That's not even a word. Wednesday. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. Don't worry about it. We can make up words and still feel quite all right. Apparently, okay. um, yeah. So welcome to this show. The show where we talk about the issues like not knowing English. And, uh, no, talk about whatever you guys are going through throughout your week, throughout your life, anything that's on your mind, anything you're worried about. We'd love to cover it. So if you have anything like that, please post in the chat. You can also send us an email at dww@bss.studio, or send us information, or send us a message on our Discord, or put it in the website at bss.studio. There's a lot of different options for you guys. You guys might be wondering, who is this? Who is this beautiful creature
It's Ryan.
in front of us? It is. Wow. And you might also be wondering, who is this even more beautiful creature? That's Joe. Um, that's right. Joe is still with us, but it's a different Joe, I think, than the normal Joe that is normally with us. This one has hair, as I think he just clearly demonstrated. Um, he has hair atop his head. But yeah, this is Joe, also known as Slightly Above Average Joe. I'm sure a lot of you have seen him around. He's a pretty awesome guy. He's very, very well knowledgeable and a really good-hearted soul. So I'm sure whatever he has to say for you guys is going to be plenty useful. I mean, he's posted a lot of times in the websites, and I'm sure you've seen him around, like I said before. But this guy's awesome. So I'm really glad to have him with us. I'm looking forward to this evening with him. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
You're
And
welcome.
I am also looking forward to an exciting evening with you guys, with Ryan, with producer Jesse, who we should always give a shout out to,
Mhm.
and Princess, who's keeping things rolling as she
Yeah.
does. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you
Um,
guys are awesome.
since I am a Joe, I give the legal disclaimer.
Oh, go for
We're
it.
not professionals. We're average Joes or Ryans or whatever we are up here. But in
Average
order
Joe.
to sometimes get the help you need to seek a professional. And so we encourage you to go out there and get professional guidance as necessary if you feel that's right for you. Today, we're just kind of trying to help you guys out with any problems you might have from the experiences that we've had, and just kind of have another fresh set of eyes. I think we have 8 currently that can take a look at your uh, stuff going on. So,
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joe. For sure, for sure. We've got quite a list here, still present with past issues and current ones that are even this week, even today, we've got 2 already. Amazing. Um, so
wow.
I'm just gonna go head on down this list, and if you are here when I say your name, please let us know, and we'll hopefully do your topic. So be here. Angel, Dead, Nox, Amira, Nathan, Bakugo Lover, Sunryosuke, Random, Karma, Rose, Yume, also known as Cherry, or Princess. If any of those people are here, let us know. And I see that there's people here for sure already. Um, we'll go in order of date as usual. Hey Cody, long time no see. Well, not really that long, but still nice to see you, man.
Cody, woot.
Cody, Akil, what
Cherry's
up?
here.
Cherry's here. Yep, I figured Cherry was here. She posted, or he posted. I don't know what you want to be called, but anyways, Cherry posted. I'll say that Cherry posted um today, so I would expect them to be here. Um, so
Jesse's not here. Oh no.
Jesse, what? How can you
Where'd,
not be here?
where'd you go?
Yeah, come back. Uh oh,
Oh,
see, I took him away. No,
no. Thief.
thief. Jeez. Okay, well, you know what? Why don't we get right into it? Um, I think the first one here for sure is Yume, also known as Cherry. So this one is called Tired.
Hi.
Tired. was posted last week, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the link here in the chat for you guys, and also one in for Jesse, so he can read through it as well. There we are. Okay. So, are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. That's all that I needed. I don't need anybody else to be ready. Really, it's only you, Joe. So let's do it. You said, Cherry said, this one is weird because I feel like maybe it's just me being too sensitive, but also might not be. Okay. We'll keep that in mind. This is called Tired, and it reads as follows. It's horrible being in a family where the parents are always busy to meet up celebrate with celebrities and go on the news and even just parties. As the oldest of my siblings, I'm expected to take care of everything all the time and get all of my parents' work pushed off on me. They always believe I have to be doing something. One thing after another, they'll continuously tell me to do things that they want done, and to take care of my sisters while they go out to a party for the entire day and night and don't get back until 2 in the morning. They do this almost every day, every week. I'm essentially the parent in that case, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of doing everything for them, but I can't approach my parents. They are both extremely judgmental of me and of others to the point where it's toxic. They even go as far as to straight up call successful people ugly and unattractive, and stating that it's sad that they're unattractive yet in a position of success. Both of my parents believe that they are never wrong. They say, I have moments when I'm wrong, but when it comes down to it, they don't truly believe that they are capable of being wrong. How do I know they don't think they're wrong? They only say they have moments when they're wrong, whenever they're accused of thinking they're always right, and they never bother to specify what moments they mean. They're not accepting of people who are different than them and share different perspectives. This is why they always refer to me as a child who doesn't know what I want and hasn't matured yet, because I see things differently than they do. That's why they believe me to be immature. It is because of these reasons that I'm afraid to truly be me, and I'm also afraid of having to take care of everyone and do everyone else's hard work. And I'm tired of being looked down upon and my hard work being overlooked. That was sent by Cherry. Thank you for that, Cherry. Yeah, and that does sound like a stressful environment. And I can totally understand being in a position where it's like um, uh, no one's there to side with you, and you feel like your parents don't respect you and things like that. Yeah, that's definitely not fun. And it's very hard on the soul to deal with that all the time, especially when you're doing so much, like maybe like around the house or whatever, and not getting any thanks for it. So yeah, that can be um, pretty unpleasant experience to have to deal with um, every single day, for sure. I know a couple of people who have had to live that life, and it is one that certainly weighs on the mind and the soul, and it's really hard. So yeah, what thoughts do you have about this whole thing, Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. And Jerry, yeah, it's a lot, especially when you have to take care of siblings when you're responsible for other people. It can really start to weigh on you and feel um, you know either like you're not good enough or what you're doing doesn't feel like enough to the people around you. And so I hear where that can be a problem where it can start to weigh on you. So thank you for sharing. And don't think of this as you being too sensitive or not sensitive enough. We all face different issues and difficulties in our lives, and so it doesn't matter how big or how small it is. This is an opportunity to have other people kind of speak to the difficulty that you're facing. So thank you for sharing this with us. Um, I'm gonna try and take from a little bit from my life, and hopefully for you that can kind of give some kind of semblance of an idea of where to go, where, what kind of positivity you can take from this, and how you can go from this to a better place. In my life, I am the oldest of four boys. My mom was a little bit uh, less excited about that. She really wanted a girl, but those aren't the cards that were dealt. So, I, as a part of that, when you're the oldest, you are responsible. It comes with the territory. I think we had Broman here last week. So, is he your oldest, Ryan?
Yeah, yep.
So
He's my older brother.
he would know. He's on my side, as those siblings have sides.
Yeah.
But the wherever you land, Sherry, the fact that you're taking care of your sisters, I assume they're younger, but they don't have to be. Just the fact that you're looking out for your siblings tells a lot about your character and about the love that you have for the people around you. For me, I had to take care of my siblings growing up because as the oldest, I was the first one to drive. I was the first one who could hold a conversation. I was the first one to do a lot of things. So the responsibility fell to me to kind of help my younger siblings as they grew up. And there's a lot of pressure with that. There's a lot for me. It was the same way of, I don't want to screw anything up. It's very easy to feel like, man, if I do something wrong, it can really affect them. And so that really started to weigh on me pretty heavily, especially because my parents were both gone all the time as well. My mother was, or actually still is, a principal. My father was pretty high up in a company. So they were gone. They were gone a lot. It's because they worked really hard to provide for us. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. And that's a little bit where our scenarios differ. But my parents were gone all the time. So all of the hard work that I had, they never knew about either. They never knew about the time I spent, cleaning up messes of my brothers. They never knew about the times where, being the oldest, I had a habit of antagonizing my younger siblings. Don't do that. Be nice to your younger siblings. But so they would actually start attacking me, and so I would have to restrain them without also hurting them, because then I would get in trouble because I was the oldest. So it was a give and take, but it always felt like it didn't matter how much effort you put in, it was never going to be enough. It never feels like all of this hard work is being acknowledged or worthwhile. And so to that, Cherry, I just want to say, it's okay. You don't need to feel like what you do is what defines you. You don't need to feel like how your parents look at you defines you. The fact is, you've done wonderful things. You've cared for people amazingly, and that doesn't change just because your parents don't notice. That doesn't change just because you're getting worn down from doing it. What you've done is still good, and that hasn't changed. So I just want to encourage you in that what you're doing, to keep doing it, to keep being there for your siblings, to keep doing what's right, even when it doesn't feel like that's rewarding or beneficial to you. Just know that the act itself, to take joy in the act itself, will really help to, one, reframe your perspective, but also create more joy in the acts you're doing, so that when you're taking care of your sisters, that would be a joyful thing, instead of starting to wear on you as it seems to be doing now. That's kind of the part of your question. I think there's another aspect of this that I think we can get to, but I'm going to pass it back to Ryan and see if he can touch on that or add a little bit more insight. So,
sure. I really like what you said there, Joe, because yeah, it's true. You're how people treat you, what people recognize you for doing, doesn't change whether you do something good or not. Right? If if you're doing all the work around the house, doing the chores, also taking care of your siblings and stuff like that, that's amazing. That's good on you. Don't worry if it's recognized or not. That's good on you, right? That's awesome. Um, and I'd be proud of you for doing that. You should be proud of yourself and not worry about whether people recognize you're doing it or not. I think um, if you're worried about whether people see you or not, it kind of um, puts you in a bad position. A lot of times, if it's like I only pick up that person's pencil, that fell on the ground. I only pick it up because I wanted them to see me do that, so that I could feel good about myself when they said thank you. Right? This is definitely not a good place to be. I'm not saying that's what position you're in. I'm just saying it's good not to get there because that's not a good place to be mentally. It will you'll know why you do things, and you will be upset with yourself and and things like that. And yeah, and then your emotions are based on how they feel about you rather than just how you want to feel. um and so yeah, definitely what Joe said is super important. um and yeah, so it is kind of also not fun being in a toxic environment with really judgmental parents, that sort of thing, because it's hard to live life and your parents rub off on you. It's just naturally they do, and so then you have to combat their feelings with your own feelings. And people, most people aren't looking to change the way they think. um, Most people aren't looking at life going, hey, how can I be a better person? um, Unfortunately, we're not. Um, and that applies especially for our elders in any community. When you have like an old grandma and she's set in her ways and she thinks some weird thing like maybe she's racist, and then it doesn't matter what you say, you are not going to change that about her. She is going to be racist until the day she dies, or something crazy happens, like you get married to that race of people, and then you slowly change her over. But until that person is invited into their life, they're just going to hate that person, right? And that's the way it is for a lot of older people. They're not quick to change their ways. Does that mean it's not worth trying? I think it is worth trying, but you have to remember that it is something you have to be extremely patient and not worried about. If you have a point of view that your parents don't agree with, but you still believe that view is, I mean, first of all, if you have a point of view that people don't agree with, whether it be your parents or anybody, I think the best thing to do first is to ask yourself the question, am I right? Could I possibly be wrong? Could I possibly be wrong? Let me just try to figure out if I could be wrong. And then run through some scenarios in your head and try to figure that out. And if at the end of that you're like, you know what, I'm pretty sure I'm still right about this, then yeah, by all means, go out and try to share that view. If your parents, again, don't accept that, sometimes you just have to love them anyway. Um, Say, you know what, you don't agree with me, and I don't agree with you. And that doesn't mean, we don't love each other. It doesn't mean I can't love you. I can't will the best of you. I still want the very best for you. And I hope that someday you come around to my side. But you know what? I'll be patient and just wait until that happens. Sometimes you just have to be patient and wait. Um, you know, I have I have a okay. Instead of going into names, so I have a friend um, who actually I have a couple of friends who grew up in an environment where their parents treated them very poorly and made them do all of the chores around the house. Never helped out once. Um, and it's not like they worked hard either. The parents kind of sat home and watched TV almost all day long, um, and still commanded that they would not do any chores, and they made their child do all of them. Um, and then, on top of that, called their child ugly and things like that. Like that's a pretty bad environment, right? And I know people who've grown up in that environment, um, and also had siblings, also. it's really rough on them. And there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of self-hatred that happens that comes from that, because when your parent doesn't like you or doesn't treat you like they love you, it becomes really hard to treat yourself like you love you, because you haven't had that example of what that's like. And you haven't been raised with the attitude of somebody who loves you, right? Like, you haven't had the, what's the word, subconscious habit put into your brain over and over that you are loved. Instead, you get this subconscious habit put into your brain that you are a tool, that you are used for your parents to have an easier life, or that you're just a bother on your parents and you only waste their time, and things like that. So it's really tough being in those environments. I think the most important thing to do is, when you can see that, try to objectify it and say, you know what? That's not who I have to be. I don't have to be that person. I am not a tool. I am far more than a tool. Even if I'm treated like one, that doesn't make me one. And so then you have to take that time and just pep talk to yourself about this and say, you know what? Uh, it doesn't matter how people treat me. I am an amazing individual who deserves love, who deserves peace of mind, who deserves kindness, who deserves a hug, who deserves all sorts of different things that maybe you're not getting, right? But you still deserve them. And you should at least treat yourself that way, right? Because that helps program your mind not to hate yourself. Because that's one of the worst parts of growing up in environments like that, is that you don't treat yourself kindly. Um, and so hopefully you can see that and say, you know what, I'm going to choose to treat myself with respect and kindness, and hopefully move in the right direction there. I don't know. It's tough, but yeah, I'm gonna pass it back over to Joe.
Yeah, right. Spot on. The way that people interact with us changes us, especially with parents, because they're so formative.
Mm,
I talked about a little bit, as being the firstborn. There's a lot of firsts, and your parents are typically the people who introduce you to things, introduce you to what it means to feel loved, introduce you to what it means to be cared for. Um, they're the people that we learn all these things from. But for most of us, we learn it so young we don't even remember that we learned it. It just feels natural. It
mhm,
feels like this is how it's always been. It's part of the reason, like Ryan was talking about, our grandparents and older people um, are rather set in their ways, because that's how it's been. It just has been for so long. It just seems like that's the way it should be. And
mhm,
so the difficulty you're facing here is that those people who are such an influence in your life are treating you in such a way that you feels wrong and feels discouraging to you. Um, and so, like Ryan talked about, with going back to the grandparent example, um, by putting people into your life that are of what you want, you slowly become that. So in his instance, it was a person of that race that they're racist against. But in this instance, we're talking about people who would love you, people who have respect for your opinions. And the fact of the matter is, if you start to put those people in your life, that's going to start changing your life, whether you notice it or not. And when you look back after many, many years, you'll go, I thought this was always a part of it, not really recognizing that your friends, your family, the people that were there, supporting you, helped shape that worldview. So, like Ryan was talking about, it doesn't sound like you're there yet, but it's something that we want you to be very cognizant of. Is that no matter what you do, to just try and do the right thing and keep that in the forefront of your mind without having um, the opinions, the mindset of people around you define who you are. Um, just be like Ryan said, just because people treat you like a tool doesn't mean that you are. And so, remembering what you are, which is a very beloved creation, um, who many, many people care for. And sometimes we just need to be reminded of that fact. So, um, I personally, I love my parents. My parents have been very great to me, but at the same time, I can see where um, parents, especially because in your parents' instance, they're people too. And if the atmosphere that they've been in, where they're meeting up with celebrities, going on the news, going to parties, if the atmosphere that they're in kind of starts to create this, hey, you got to be successful, like perfectly successful, and people who aren't perfectly successful are ugly or unattractive or whatever it is. Um, it it could just be their mindset that's been developed over many years, not necessarily that that's who they are, but that's where their life has taken them so far. And you, as a person who's taking care of your siblings and who's showing the face of love, can be an impact on them. And I think that's all too often a part we miss, is that we look at how the impact others have on us without forgetting that we have an impact on others, and to take that into account, that maybe right now um, they're not noticing, but oftentimes the things we don't notice uh, will sometimes influence us the most. The music we listen to
Hmm.
um, just has a way of shaping our thoughts and our day, which is kind of what BSS is all about. So um, back to you,
Mhm.
Ryan.
Sure. Yeah. I guess one final thing I want to say about it is basically, um, just because you don't agree with somebody, right, doesn't mean that that person doesn't like you or that that person doesn't love you. Um, it might be that they don't notice everything that you do, and they don't notice a lot of the things that you do, and they don't give you the credit, and they don't give you recognition, and so on. Um, but that doesn't mean they don't care about you and your well-being. Um, and they might not agree with certain things, certain viewpoints that you have. Maybe maybe you believe one thing about something, and they just like, no, that's not right. That doesn't mean that they hate you. I think a lot of times in our culture today, when somebody doesn't agree with something that we find is core to our belief system, that that person then hates us. That's not true. To hate is to like want the worst for somebody. We can disagree with somebody and say, no, like let's talk about racism because I talked about that before. Like, let's say you have somebody who's racist and you're like, look, it is not okay to be racist, and they're like, no, I definitely am supposed to be racist because there are many times in my life where racist helped me get out of a bad situation, things like that, whatever. Right. So they very firmly believe that racism is a good thing. So you look at that person, you don't hate them, right? And just because they don't agree with you doesn't mean they hate you. It's just that there's a conflict of understanding what truth is, what is true and what is not. Um, but it has nothing to do with whether it has nothing to do with love or hate, um, or or that kind of nature. So I think it's important to remind ourselves of that when we're caught up in a debate with somebody, when we're caught up in the heat of a scenario where they've got a different viewpoint on something and they're arguing with us about something, or they think our view is very wrong and they're just telling us to our face and they're yelling at us or whatever. It's really important to remember, look, our debate on this subject has no weight over whether we actually love each other or not. And I think it's best to bring that scenario always back to that point. If you can at any point break up a conversation and bring things back around to the bigger picture, I think that's important. Um, when you're having a debate with somebody and you just kind of at different ends of a perspective, and maybe it starts to get heated, you can say, hey, look, like, you know what? I love you. Like, and we definitely think different things about this. But you know what? I still love you, and that's really what matters most. Um, and a lot of times that will calm the anger because it will bring people back to, oh yeah, I need to be a good person. It's better to be a good person than to be a bad person and be right about something, right? You can say, I don't know, you can do all sorts of evil things trying to do something good, but that doesn't make the evil things good, right? And so belittling someone, insulting someone, judging someone, whatever, harshly, those can be evil things. And if you bring good into that and you say, hey, if you kind of shock people by saying, hey, you know what? Uh, I believe in doing what's good for people, and I love you regardless of whatever this conversation is. Um, it kind of snaps people out of what they're going through, their emotional situation that they have to attack you on. It really helps to kind of like snap them out of that and go, okay, let's calm down a little bit and like talk about this more civilized. Doesn't mean that they're going to change their viewpoint, but at least you can settle the situation and make it not so aggressive. So try to find things to compliment them on. A lot of times when I'm in a disagreement with somebody, I try to, whatever they say, find the truth in what they're saying and point it out to them, back to their face. Not to like say, "Ha, I know mine is right because of the things you just said." No, no, not like that. But when they say something that I agree with, I always try to point it out because I'm like, "Yes, you are so right about that," and I agree. Or sometimes I even say, "You know what? That makes sense. Maybe I can change my viewpoint a little bit on that note because that is true. I didn't really consider that." Um, saying things like that gives people the leeway and gives people the emotional calm so that they can actually have a real discussion. Um, so when you have these differences with people, I think it's important to always look for the good in the scenario and try to bring that out of the discussion, and try to focus on also them as a human being, not as them as an abstract force that's against your desires, right? So yeah, anyhow, yeah, there you go. That's all. That's what I wanted to add to that. Wah! Don't mind the intense brightness that just happened. Cool.
It's
Did you have anything
glowing.
else you wanted to add?
Ryan's glowing.
Glowing.
Yes.
I'm pregnant.
Anyway, thank you for sharing,
Yeah.
Cherry. It's great that you're wrestling with these things. Um,
Mm.
that you just take the time to process what you're dealing with. It's the same reason that I've asked questions on this show, and many people ask questions on the show to take the time to actually just consider what's going on, both in your heart and in your life. Um, I was actually listening to a sermon by a pastor on YouTube, and he referenced a kind of almost like a study they did where they took um, a bunch of inmates, a bunch of hardened prison inmates, and what they did is they sat them in a room and had them reflect and meditate for an hour, and not a single one of them came out not bawling about what they had done
Mm.
because they finally took the time to consider what was going on in their life. So
Interesting.
I encourage you before you reach that point to just take a moment, take a breath to consider what's happening in your life, and what does this mean, so that as you work through these, either from the words we're saying, um, take that into account, but also what are you feeling, what are you thinking, and to kind of process that. I highly encourage you to do that with another person as well, that you can bounce ideas off of, and just kind of discuss more at length what's going on. So thank you very much, Cherry. I hope you feel encouraged. I hope when you leave here, um, you feel like, hey, it's I can I can help my sisters, I can help my parents, I can go out and still make this difference, even though it's felt a little tough at times.
Mm.
So
Yep.
um, where do we go from here, Ryan? Do we
Yeah. Well,
have
thank you. Yeah, like Joe said, thank you, Cherry. You're awesome. And I guess I'll read through the list again. If you happen to be here, let us know. But I think probably we'll be doing princesses next. But again, I'll go through the list. So let's see. If you're here, let us know. Angel, Dead, Knox, Amira, Nathan, Bakugo Lover, Sunryosuke, Random, Karma, Rose, Princess, and Cherry. Um, I'm guessing that the only one here at this particular moment is Princess. Um, so Yeah, let's see if someone else is here. Princess says, yeah, mine is, don't worry about mine. Yeah, we're going to worry about it. No, we're not going to worry about it because it's Wednesday. We don't worry about things.
Yeah.
No need to worry, guys. To worry is to have fear. And there's nothing to fear but fear itself. What? Jesse's talking. Jesse's, there's nothing to fear but fear itself, and that's something to fear. Ah, yeah.
Also spiders. Spiders.
That's why there's a but in the sentence. Yeah, because you don't want anybody sitting on you.
People are sitting on people.
Yeah, that's what fear is about. Like that's the
Okay.
ultimate end to anybody's fear. Like in any situation where it's like, oh no, what if I speak up in class and I say something wrong and like people like get on me about it and laugh and stuff. The end of that is someone sitting on you though. Every time. That's why you're afraid. But you don't have to be afraid of that. They're not that heavy.
No.
Yeah. It's gonna be okay.
We hope.
Everything always plays out to that end, so don't worry about it.
I don't think anyone else except Princess has responded a lot, so she must want hers.
Yeah, I think she's really excited. Let's do it. This is from Princess. It's sorry, Princess. It's called aloof or attached. Aloof or attached. And it reads as follows. Relationships are hard, no matter what kind they are. And there are boundaries that are meant to be put in place to keep a relationship healthy. As of lately, I've been feeling more and more confused about those, especially with the feeling of being attached. As you guys have said before, feelings are finicky, things that are subject to change, and that's no big surprise. But I just feel like I am not really attached to a lot of those who are my friends. As if an invisible force field blocks the way between us. I don't know what to do about this, since I want to be a good friend. And I think it's on my side of the relationship. And other times, I feel like I can get too attached to a person, similar to being clingy. Like when I give my full undivided and kinda never ceasing attention to somebody, and that makes them uncomfortable, or I just want to hug anyone and everyone. And sometimes I do. That's cute. Do you guys have any advice on how to deal with feeling aloof or attached like a leech with friends? Fair. I can definitely relate to this actually. In a lot of these different things. Some things I've just come to accept and like that's just how it is. And some things I've come to just be like, you know what, let's see what we can do about that. So I'm sure Joe also has experienced these things. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say about all of this.
Yeah, I can't wait until Joe comes back. I'm sure he's got great wisdom on this.
I know. I guess until then, why don't we have another Joe do it?
Where? Oh!
You know what?
Okay.
Let's see. You can be Static P. So go for it.
Yes. All right.
You can be half a Static P.
Oh, well, that's I'm better off then.
Oh yeah, see,
that's an improvement. Well, I'll be half Joe, half a Static P, and I'll try to do both at the same time. I don't know if I can. Oh, perfect.
No, don't worry about it.
Perfect. He's back. I can.
Yeah, no, you guys, you can be Static P. I'll be Joe.
Okay.
So go for it, Static P. What do you have to say about this?
What would Static P say? That should be on a bracelet or something. Anyway.
Well, oh jeez, no, because then people will be like, "Is that the new Jesus?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, actually, when I was in high school, people used to call me Jesus, but that's not who I am. That's not my name. That's not my name."
Guys, my driver's license says something completely different. But okay. Princess is wanting to deal with being sometimes attached, sometimes
not attached,
unattached. Which relationships are complicated. So yeah, I feel that. Generally speaking, if you feel not attached enough, use super glue. And if you feel too attached, just kind of use some like solvent. Um,
Gone.
it'll go away. But no, in Princess, this is a very normal thing. Don't don't feel like life is kind of getting the best of you, because every one of us is going to go through ups and downs of feeling like, oh man, I don't know if I want to spend too much, if I've spent too much time with this person, or maybe I haven't spent enough time with this person. And really, the balance just comes from uh, finding out, one, I mean, you don't follow people home unless they ask you to come home with them. But it's a balance of just learning uh, from people. And as with anything else, the only way you learn is by spending time in that activity, whether it's spending time with people or whatever it is. And for the most part, uh, it's going to be up to you. If you want to spend time with somebody, and you feel like you're too attached or too clingy, um, I mean, you can always ask. Um, and but most people would probably tell you, um, especially if you're in a good relationship with them, if you're spending lots of time with them. um, Developing a relationship includes having conversations, awkward conversations sometimes even, because that helps you to, like you say, understand the boundaries of a relationship, and boundaries are what keeps it healthy. So in whatever relationship it is, whether or not it's somewhere you feel too clingy, feel free to be honest about that and say, hey, um, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like I've been spending a lot of time. Maybe you feel a little uncomfortable. And that gives the other person the opportunity to either, if you are, be able to tell you, so that you know, and you can kind of give them their space and help them to feel more comfortable in the relationship, or tell you that you're fine. And in which case, just enjoy that time that you get to spend with that other person. Um, I have had, honestly, both sides of this, both sides of being attached and distant from someone with the same person, and it just changes. I'm going to use the example of my wife because I spend a lot of time with her. Um, Sometimes there's days where I would love to, I feel like I'm spending every minute with her, and I feel like she's probably uh, a little bit tired of being around Joe all the time, because Joe's a little weird sometimes. But you get you get that feeling, even from somebody who I live with, of feeling a little too clingy. And then at other times, it's a situation where, um, if she's got something on her mind, and you know it, and it hasn't come up, she starts to feel a little bit distant, and it feels like, I'm being aloof, I'm dodging, or I don't want to talk about something. Um, and again, this gets back to the original point of, if you're feeling aloof or distant from people, the fix is still the same. It's to have that conversation. It's to say, hey, something's going on with me. Something's happening. How do you feel about this? And to just say, hey, maybe I need my space. Even if they haven't asked you, like, what's wrong, but to be able to free up yourself to that other person, makes for much healthier relationships. And it seems like you already know that a little bit, as you've put in your post. Um, so it's okay to feel the confusion, of being attached, or feeling distant, and how that fluctuates between day and day and person to person. Um, it comes from the experience of dealing with people. So um, I think Ryan's a little bit wiser on this than me. He deals with people a lot more than I do. I'm an accountant, so I hide in the back and don't deal with people. So Ryan, go ahead and spread some
Music
wisdom.
isn't people. um, I mean,
Music
people can
isn't.
be instruments though. But people can also count. So I don't know. Anyways, um, don't even try. I'm lying. Okay. 1, 2, 4. So anyways, yeah, to me, this is kind of interesting. As Joe was talking about this, and I think he said a lot of the right things. Um, as Joe was talking about it, I kind of thought of something, and it's kind of like this is a God made man complex. God man complex, rather. God man. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a God man complex. All right.
Okay.
This is going to be weird, but bear with me. Sometimes, actually, all the time, I'm in this position where I see these people and I don't know them. And I'm like, man, I wish like I could spend way more time with them. But instead, I'm unattached, right? Instead, I'm kind of like distant. I have this desire to be like, man, I could spend an eternity with that person. I could spend the rest of my life getting to know that person. Not that I want to have a romantic relationship or something like that with them, but the fact that they're a human being makes me go, oh my gosh, that's a whole human. And as we continue, like, even like the more I get to know them, the more they are developing as a person, which means there's more I have to know. Like, there's no attachment that is the end. There's no like point where I can just like, okay, I know that person entirely. No, because there's still adventures to go on. There's still life to go through. Um, and it's kind of like I look at people, and there's plenty of people I look at and I just adore them. And I'm like, man, I have not made enough time for them in my life. And then I realize I can't make any more time for them if I look at my schedule. I'm making time for certain people and not others, and that kind of makes me feel bad, but it is what it is. Um, I I can't possibly spend my entire life with even one person, let alone everybody I meet. So the reason I call it like a God man complex is because the will I feel like comes from God, this desire to be with people, to get to know people, to relate to them, to love on them, to just shower them with the affection that you have, and that you're capable of, and you just want to be able to do that. But yet at the same time, we're human, and that humanness gives us the aspect of time, which doesn't allow us to do this. It gives us the aspect um, of energy. We can't pour out all of our energy. We have a certain amount. Um, it it it's an issue of like emotions too. We don't always have that drive to be around somebody. Sometimes we just want to be alone, and sometimes we want to be with certain people, with certain relationships. Sometimes we don't necessarily want to be around, a certain particular person, even though they're awesome people. Just like I'm going through something right now, and I feel like I need to be around these type of people and not this other kind of person, right? That's kind of human nature. And so um, that's why I say it's like kind of like a God man complex. Man desires what is good and what is godly, but that's not necessarily achievable at this point in time. So, as far as we know, so it's kind of like you're stuck in this position where you're human and you want good things, and that's good. And that's basically all of it. I mean, that's the whole point, and I think that's beautiful. Um, is that you're in a position where you want good, even if you can't provide that good. You want to be with people, even if you don't necessarily want to be with people. It's kind of like that desire of I wish I would have done this, but I also uh, apparently don't want enough to pursue that. But I still wish I had done that, just because that would be a good thing to have done, right? And I mean, we have thoughts like that all the time. And that goes for people too. We Even though aren't necessarily emotional about a certain person, we still love them, right? We still have a certain sense of affection towards them, a certain value, um, that is infinite towards them, and dignity, and looking at them and saying, I wish I was a better friend to them. Um, Well, good. That's a good thing to wish. And sometimes we have to take that wish and say, okay, well, let's do that then. Let's put more time into that. And sometimes you have to look at it and say, you know what? It's okay. It's just okay. It is what it is, and it doesn't need to change. Um, it's okay. And I think that's kind of a lot of times where we're at. We have these relationships which aren't particularly close with and connected, but and maybe we feel a little unattached. Maybe we don't feel emotionally driven to be with them, and that's okay. It's not a bad thing, right? There's nothing evil about that, and so thus nothing needs to change. And I think that's a constant thing we should remind ourselves of. Is this necessarily a bad thing? Is it evil? And it's like, no, it's not evil to be unattached. Um, so, and then on the other side of the spectrum, overly attached. I think a lot of what Joe said is good advice. Um, being just up in front with the person about that, like, hey, am I being too attached for you to handle right now? Like, am I annoying? you know um but also sometimes when we feel that way, it can be um I think introspection is always good. Whenever we're in a position where it's like, is this okay to do, is this not okay? Introspection, just think to yourself and say, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then when you answer that question, ask yourself why again. And then when you answer that question, ask yourself why again. It might take you like 7 whys before you finally get to the root of it. A lot of times we have problems in life and we don't find the root. We just kind of find the surface level and we try to fix that, and we don't fix anything. And we end up causing more problems because our mind is fixated on this one thing that we're trying to solve that isn't actually the issue. It's just a byproduct of the real problem. And trying to fix the byproduct um, causes more harm than good. So a lot of times we have to step back, ask ourselves, why am I doing this? Why am I being overly attached? Um, and then when you answer that question, ask yourself why again, and try to find until you get to the point where you're like, you have that aha moment. Because many times until that happens, you haven't satisfied and figured out the root. A lot of times when you're asking yourself why and you're like, well, it's because of that. But it's like, no, you haven't gotten to it yet. When you feel that moment of like, oh my gosh, okay, all right, I get it. Yep. When you have that motion, that almost emotion of relief, like, oh, okay, now I see what's going on. It's kind of like now you can assess the problem appropriately. You know what the root is. So don't stop yourself short when you're on that introspection, that route of asking yourself why. Thanks, Cherry. Um, and then, yeah, I think that if you find that the at the end of your whys, you're like, you know what, this isn't evil, and this isn't bad, and this can be a holy thing. This can be a good thing. Then why not continue? It's all right. um, and then yeah, just worry about the other person if you're bothering them, I guess. But if you ask yourself why, and you're like, you know what, um, I don't like that ending. Like that's not very good. Then maybe find out how to change it. Now you've got the root of the problem. Now you know what to work on. So there's lots of different avenues to travel down there, but hopefully that gives some insight. But yeah, it's complete. Like Joe said, it is completely natural to be where you're at. It's so normal. Trust me, I have been there before, feeling that like I was the only person that wasn't a good friend. Um, then I've realized that like everybody is going through this. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just human. Oh, I'm just human, I guess. Weird. I didn't think I was. No, everybody has exactly what you're going through. Everybody. Every single soul on this planet, even the infant. Even infants are really attached to something people and unattached to other people. Like you like they pick you up and you're crying and you're like, no, get him away from me. And you're like, dude, we just met. Like, why do you hate me, baby? Why do you hate me? And then, it like wants its mom. And it's like, what's so good about her? We haven't even had a relationship yet. Like, why are you so attached to her and unattached? It's like, it's a baby. It's a human, and it's gonna be that way for its entire life. It's just gonna not necessarily cry anymore when when it is around somebody it's not necessarily attached to. You know, you learn tolerance, and maybe you still cry. I don't know, but anyways. Anyhow, yeah. So completely normal, completely normal to be as you are. You aren't like broke, like wicked. You aren't like messed up in the brain or anything. Trust me. Very normal.
Yeah. And it's to my understanding that if you need help asking yourself why, if you find a toddler who's just learned to ask that question, they will assist you.
They will assist you.
So, but no, Ryan's spot on. Just feel free to ask yourself the why question. Get at what's really going on in your heart, in your mind, that's
Mhm,
bringing up these feelings.
mm,
And when you finally get down to the root cause, like Ryan says, it won't be like a yeah, that kind of makes sense. It'll be this is the reason. I know that this is
mhm.
why.
Yeah.
So ask yourself those questions. One of the things as I'm reading back through your post, Princess, is just um, to touch on the quote, invisible force field blocks the way between us. Um, and one of the things that you realize, it doesn't get any better as you get older, but one of the things you come to realize is most of those barriers in relationships are set up by us. We set up those barriers both ways and kind of running away and keeping us from getting too close. And I'm going to liken it to like an invisible fence. The way that you use an invisible fence is that you teach the dog, hey, if it runs to this point, it's going to get shocked. So in relationships that we've had, I'm sure that you've known or you've gotten too close to somebody and something went wrong and it kind of hurt a little bit. And so you start to back off. And these kind of invisible fences, as they were, just kind of build themselves.
Mhm.
And so what we have to do is go poke the fence again to see if it's on. Maybe it's not even on anymore. Um, and a lot of this is just asking. That like we said, having that open and honest dialogue will really help you to understand. Again, if after you've asked this why question, you know, do they want this kind of relationship? Do I want this kind of relationship with them? Do I want to be spending all this time with them? Because it's just as important that you know what kind of relationship you want with this person than that they know, um, which is sometimes overlooked. Sometimes we kind of breeze by and get caught up on the idea of a person and not necessarily is this relationship healthy for me.
Mm,
So
that's true.
um, all that to just say, like, take recognize that a lot of the barriers and things that you've set up, um, they don't really exist. So if you want to reach those barriers, you want to go, hey, I'm feeling aloof, but that's kind of because you've set up that wall. You can knock it down just as easy. Um, for for instance, when I was, I'm going to use my wife a lot as examples because I spend lots of time with her. When I came back from college, I kind of set up this boundary of, until you finish out school, there's no more dating for you. Like this is just, it's going to be way easier, especially with you traveling for your college career. It's going to be better to not do that. And that's kind of a barrier set on myself. And when I came back, I met my who's now my wife. But at the time, I said, "But I have this rule that I made for myself. I set up this fence that because this didn't work with these other people, it won't work with this person." And it took me until the end of that semester to just say, "Nah, that's just a wall I put up. That doesn't really mean anything. I'm just gonna go for it." Um, and the rest in this instance is they say is history. But I just wanted to kind of give you an example of some invisible fences that we can kind of put up and
Mhm.
to just recognize that they seem like invisible force fields, but sometimes they're not really there. And to just have that dialogue, have that conversation, so that way, you can get over that fence, through that fence, around that fence, whatever it is, um, and just have healthy, loving relationships with the people around you.
Hmm. Very wise and very well said. It's a great analogy, because that is so true. Many times we've been hurt and then we put up walls to safeguard so that we don't get hurt again. And then those walls actually damage us or distance us from what's possible. Definitely happens a lot. And sometimes you just need to go back. And I think, as Joe would say if he were here, um, that you just have to forgive. Sometimes you have those pains, and you just have to look back at them and forgive those people or forgive yourself, and knock down those walls and open yourself back up um, to life again. Um, so, yeah,
I'm gonna try and answer Princess's follow up here. Is
yeah.
there any way that you would deal with self made rules, or that's not good English? But um, the the way that you deal with self made rules is uh, that you recognize them for what they are. Um, every kind of self made rule um, comes from a place. It wasn't um, for the most part. You don't make up rules and put boundaries on yourself just because I felt like doing this. Um, it's a matter of discovering, well, why did I do that? Well, in this instance, um, we'll get back. I'm just going to use the same example. The reason I chose that is because my previous relationship had failed because I just wasn't there. I wasn't present. I was, as you say, aloof, um, because I was away. I was out on an internship, and so that relationship collapsed, and that's hurtful. And
Hmm.
so I decided, hey, I don't like this feeling of being hurt. So I'm going to start to put up these boundaries. And in order to deal with those self made rules, you have to come to the point at which you look at, all right, this is the reason I made that, was because I got hurt. Is it worth it to break down that wall for whatever's on the other side? And oftentimes it will be. There will be some times at which you need to keep your walls up to defend yourself from, uh, difficult things. But at the end of the day, there will be a better option on the other side, as it were. And to just be able to recognize, this is why I did that, but that doesn't affect this relationship. That doesn't affect, my relationship with Ryan or whatever. I don't know. I'm
Who's
grasping at
Ryan?
straws here.
I'm Joe.
But
Jesse, are we still switched? Okay. All right. Just Jesse. Okay. In order to switch us back, you have to stop your video and turn it back on.
okay,
Joe. Yeah.
how do I do that? Stop.
Yep. Hi. Huh, oh, there we go. Whoop. Hi. There we go. All good.
So sorry if you've been confused. I at no point have ever actually been static. Please don't.
Please don't. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the P. Um, so it's true. You just don't want to be the P. I get it. I get it. Someone's got to, though. Someone's got to be the P. And so I decided, you know what? I've got blonde hair. Why not? So, anyhow, uh, thanks for the question, Princess. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on to that, Joe?
No, no. Thanks,
All
Ryan.
right.
But thank you, Princess.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one, and hopefully that gave you some helpful perspective on all of that. Um, I really like Joe's bit, so he said a lot of really good things. Maybe just kind of, if you want to re-listen to it, just skim past my parts, because get to Joe's parts as fast as you can, for sure. Or I guess they were my parts. He was being Static P, so yeah,
Huh?
whatever. He was Static P's part. Yeah, just get to that part. Um, cool. Oh, hey, we got Der, I have no idea. Derized? Derized? Dear, I'm sorry. I have no idea how I would pronounce this name. Looks like we got a question from them. That's pretty cool. Also, hi Sky Time or Ski Time rather. Ski Time.
It's good time.
Sky Time. It sounds cool, but it's not their name. Ski Time. Hey Kendra, how's it going?
Kendra. Woot.
Well, let's oh, deresed. Deresed. Or deresed?
Deresed.
Oh, deresed. Deresed. That could be it.
Dressed.
Like in Tron?
Which one?
Which one? Well, I still wouldn't know.
Neither do I, but
If there was two, you just want to feel like you could ask which one and then be like, yeah, no, I actually didn't matter. It didn't matter what you said. It's deresed, deresed, deresed. Okay, deresed. All right, we're gonna go with that. That's great. All right, so I'm gonna call up the names one more time. See if anybody's here. From the past. Otherwise, since we did one from Cherry today already, I think maybe we could just do deresed since they're here with us. They are gracing us with their beautiful presence. So here we go. If you're here, let us know. Angel, Dead, Knox, Amira, Nathan, Bakugo Lover, Sunryosuke, Random, Karma, Rose, Cherry, and Deresed. And I haven't seen any of those people message in chat, other than obviously who we know is here. So yeah, dressed. I don't think it's dressed, Akil. All right, only two here. Okay, let's go for deresed or yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Oh, this one comes straight from Derez. They put it right on the site for us. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. This is called. They titled it "Not Sure What I'm Doing with My Life." Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Totally relatable. Here we go. It reads as follows. I found I've always wanted to be a YouTuber, and I'm finally achieving my dream, but lately life has been hard, and my job has gotten less and less work to the point where I haven't heard from them in over 2 weeks. Wow. So now I may be facing eviction soon, and I'm not sure what to do. It's narrowing down to maybe selling my computer, but doing so is like throwing my life and dream away, and I'm just not sure what I'm doing anymore. All I ever wanted was to be a good YouTuber, but I'm not sure what's important. Thanks for taking a look. Derezed Studios. All right. Yeah. Wow. That is definitely a tight scenario and a very, I don't know, a stressful scenario to go through for sure. Being in that position where you're possibly being evicted, you haven't had work in 2 weeks, and your job isn't providing much there. And oh, thanks for sharing that link, Joe. Let me send that to Jesse as well. But yeah, that's tough. Hopefully we can give you maybe a few ideas about where you can go with that, and some examples through our lives. But yeah, go for it, Joe.
Thanks, Ryan. And thanks, Mr. D Studios.
D Studios. I like that. Yeah.
We're gonna do whatever it takes, but we appreciate you posting. Just
we do. Thank you very much.
having a question, being open with what you're dealing with, because a lot of times we can get bogged down feeling like we're the only one. So thank you for sharing what's going on, what's happening in life, and you've come to a point that this is a very real, very difficult situation, where work is kind of falling away, and you've still got to eat, you've still got to pay the bills, and you've looked at it very realistically of I might have to sell my computer, the different things that um, it takes to live, in understanding that. But at this point, I just want to encourage you, because you have a dream. You have something that you're chasing. It's very tough to have both especially a full-time job, and a dream, um, especially if they're not like coincided. I know lots of people. If your dream matches your career, man, that's a great place to be. But sometimes it doesn't, like you have here. And so the fact that you are still chasing that and you still work for that, um, it can be an amazing life giving thing. Um, so only you will know what your situation requires. I'm the eternal optimist, so I'm sorry, but I'm always going to come at it as, um, give everything you've got to chase your dreams and to do what you really want to do. Um, so I'm going to come at it from a different perspective, because I've found that stepping out in faith can often bring um, huge life changes that are to your benefit. Um, for In my life, um, I used to be a golf professional. I bring it up just because that was such a large part of my life. I devoted a lot of time to it, so it just naturally comes up when I talk about things that happened in my life. I was a golf professional. I had done that for about a year. I wasn't paid very well, and in fact, I was working so much I was being paid per hour less than my minimum wage staff. Um, and so I know what it feels like when your job isn't, you don't have enough there. It doesn't feel like it's coming in to really pay the bills, or at least pay for what time you've spent and put into it. Um, so uh, I recognize that, like, hey, something has to give, and in your situation, something has to give. You've recognized that either it's your job, your computer, but or something else. Um, I would tell you to just dodge the selling your computer, only because it's a temporary solution. Um, because once you sell your computer, what happens when that money runs out? You hope work comes back up, but you won't ever, you don't get to choose the roller coaster that is work. Sometimes work is here, sometimes it isn't. So sometimes you have to make a life change. And in my instance, I said, hey, I want to go to something that's more um, consistent. I can get paid more in total, but also be compensated more accordingly to what I'm working. And so I quit my job. With a lot of people tell you, well, you're still working at your job, look for other jobs. And in your instance, especially if it's not something, if it's something that you still want to keep doing, but you also know that you need to pay the bills, feel free to continue to work at your job. But in my instance, what my job was doing to me caused me to come to the conclusion that I needed to quit before I had another job. So I quit. I put in my 2 weeks notice at this job without having another one lined up. I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do, even if I was going to get paid. Um, and that's a frightening place to be, because you let yourself be open to things that things that are unsure of. Even in your post, you put, so now I may be facing eviction soon, and I'm not sure of what to do. You're not sure. There's so much uncertainty that comes in these situations. But taking that step of, I quit my job, and in 2 weeks from the people that were around me, in this instance, it was my pastor at church. Um, I said, hey, I quit. I need to find a job. Hey, wait, can you help me? He's like, I have a place. I have a friend who said he needed one. And I've been working for this company kind of ever since. Um,
Nice.
and it was amazing, because I didn't have this. I didn't know it was coming to me. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I'd be able to afford food. I didn't know if I was going to have rent. Um, I didn't know. There were so many unknowns. And I said, but I need to make this change. I need to get out of this job that's destroying me either. In my instance, it was more emotional and more um, spiritual things like that. But for you, it can be entirely fiscal, entirely about money. Um, you know, so being able to take that leap and saying, all right, this isn't going to be able to be sustainable, to start looking at other options and to say, all right, I got to just jump. Maybe there's something that you don't know what it'll be, but being able to jump into something new and not being afraid of what is new and unknown. That's kind of my perspective. Again, it's there's a lot that goes on in life. You know where you're at better than I, but I encourage you to just take a leap of faith, and see what might happen. So, Ryan, if you have any kind of
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that. And that's such a good point. I think that looking for another job is definitely your best bet right now. If you haven't already been looking, I would definitely start pursuing that. And don't, like Joe did, don't fear away from asking people you know. A lot of times when we're looking for jobs, we just go out to we look online and we go to the businesses around us and ask for applications and try to turn them in. But yeah, don't shy away from asking people that you know if they know anybody who's looking to fulfill a position, or if they have anything that they might even offer themselves, um, or your parents, or that sort of thing. All of that is fair game. So great suggestion. um, and yeah, you know, I have something I would like you to do for yourself. Um, is You said that your dream is to be basically a YouTuber. You want to be a good YouTuber, and I would contemplate that, not because I think that's a dumb idea, but I think it's a fine, it's a swell, it's a splendid idea. But I want you to contemplate that. Ask yourself, why do I want to be a good YouTuber? For what reason do I want to be a good YouTuber? I think that's an even better question. Not why do I want to be a good YouTuber, but for what reason? Um, because I don't want you to limit yourself to YouTube. You can, if your intention to be a YouTuber is because you want to do good for the world around you, and you know that that's possible through YouTube, right? That's also possible elsewhere. And you can continue to grow in what you want. Maybe you're really passionate about film or video or sketches or audio or putting on a story, or maybe it's comedy, or maybe there's all sorts of different things that you could be passionate about. What I mean to say is, don't be passionate about YouTube. YouTube is a business model. Don't be passionate about YouTube. Be passionate about what you can offer to the world. And then relook at your YouTube career, because then you have something that you can build upon, even if you have to maybe if you lose everything, right? If somehow everything, you just lose everything, right? And you live out in the streets, you can still be good, and you could still actually even be a good YouTuber, believe it or not, as long as you have one camera and its ability to hook up to a computer at the library, right? I mean, and you can find video software that you can download onto their stuff. Like, it's kind of weird, but maybe it's not the best way to go about it. But the point is, or you can do it with your friend, right? You have a friend who's set up all right, and you can do your YouTube career with them. But the point is, what's the point of doing YouTube? Because I bet you that the point of doing YouTube is something that you can provide for the world and for yourself, even when that isn't accessible to you. Um, because you are an individual who has, I'm sure, plenty of talent, plenty of, what do you call that? Ability to be talent. What's the word? It starts with a P, I believe. Potential. Got it. Thanks. Thanks for saying it after me. I got it. Um, I wouldn't have gotten it if you didn't say that, so I appreciate it. Um, Potential, yeah. You have an enormous amount of potential as a human being. So yeah, I just really wanted to pose that question to you, because I think there's a lot of people who want to be a good YouTuber. Um, but I think it's more important, what's the drive behind being a YouTuber? Is it just for the fame and to be on that website? And I think that that won't pull you through. That's not enough for you to be motivated and continue down that road for the rest of your life. That's not enough to it's it isn't enough to build a life on that feels like, man, there's infinite amount of meaning here to this. There's an infinite amount of good I can do here because of this one action, right? Because what I'm doing for people and for others and for myself through this is providing so much good for others. YouTube is just a platform. So don't subject yourself only to that. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Um, that way, when you look at it, you can have your perspective solid so that wherever you go in life, you know you've still got that. You've still got yourself and you've still got the ability to chase your dreams, whatever that dream is. Solidify that in your mind, because you take that with you no matter where you go. Whether you're going through struggles that are financial or you're going through struggles that are relational. Maybe you're going through struggles, with your faith life or with understanding who you are as a person, right? You take you wherever you go, and I think one of the best things you can do is solidify to yourself who you are, what you stand for, what you want to do with your life, what your purpose is, where you're going. Because knowing where you're going with it all and saying, "Wait a minute, there's not only one option open to me. There's a lot of different options out there." Um, then when you get put into the scenario where it's like where it feels like doom and gloom, you realize that there are so many doors open to you. There's so many paths to take. There's, when you get, they say like when you're at the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up, right? And it's kind of a similar situation. If you lose it all, but you still know you've got purpose, you haven't lost anything. You're just in a new spot with new information, and where are you going to take it from there? Um, and if you can have that type of, I don't know what you call it, posture, self understanding, then it doesn't matter where life takes you. You got it. Just keep on focusing on what that dream is, what you're going to do, and find ways to do that. Because you might find like, oh my gosh, wait, I was focusing on YouTube because I wanted to do this one really specific thing for people or for myself or whatever. But actually, I just got offered a job to do live events at some like off place to help set up like live events for their shows and stuff like that. And I can actually use my talent there, right? And that feels good. And I can help people doing that. Awesome. See, like life has millions of avenues you can take. So don't ever feel despair. Despair creates nothing in us. Hope creates all things. So yeah, really, I don't know. I'm saying it again, but just really try to figure out what is it about YouTube that makes you want to be a good YouTuber, um, and then chase after that good that is in you that you want to share with the world.
Yeah, Ryan, that's huge. And then, obviously you're kind of a YouTuber, so that
Yeah.
somewhat you do it occasionally on the side.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
do it kind of, and then, yeah. Yeah,
um,
I am a YouTuber, I suppose. Um,
so go ahead, Ryan.
yeah. Yeah, no, I have nothing else. I was just gonna turn it back over to you.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, you're
Um, and I really love what Ryan said there about recognizing why. Like again, the reason behind your YouTubing, whatever that is, recognizing kind of that. What's the backbone? What's the hope that's really going to drive you for many years?
Mhm.
um, I assume you're not a 70-year-old person if you're on YouTube. That's probably bold, but I assume you have lots of life ahead of you. And so having a passion that can get you out of bed for many more years, instead of just focusing on this is what I'm doing, but more of this is the reason that I'm doing this will help to give you that longevity. Um,
Mhm.
in my instance, um, I really enjoy helping people. I really like to see people be successful in what they do. My dreams are to watch people. My greatest dream is to watch people succeed in their dreams. Um,
That's
and
cool.
in order for me to do that, um, I became an accountant, which doesn't sound like illustrious and like dream assisting. Um, but I've had the opportunity to meet people where they're starting businesses or where they're working on their dream, and to say, all right, let's look at what you're doing and how can we make it so that you can, one, pay the bills, and then two, chase that dream. Kind of like you're discussing right now of you need to eat, generally speaking, we need to eat, um, but to also to continue to chase that reason why. Um, and when you have that as the foundation instead of as a portion of your picture of life, when you start to put that as the foundation, it's much more solid. When you find that reason and make your reason the foundation, you can build a life, a career, a YouTube channel, whatever it is, on that foundation instead of the other way around.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, basically just re-listen to whatever Ryan said because he
Uh,
knows.
I think that we both said great stuff there because yeah, it is true. And yeah, I honestly I hope the best for you. Whatever you decide here, definitely look for more options. Look for jobs that come your way. And you might not end up getting a job that you're particularly passionate about just to pay the bills for a while. So you can get, what you, like kind of like you're doing maybe right now. Maybe you don't care that much for your job. It pays the bills. Well, not anymore, but it used to pay the bills and so you could pursue, YouTube and that sort of thing. Um that's awesome. That's awesome. That's kind of the position I was in for a very long time. And I know that's a position that Joe's been in, not this Joe, the other Joe that's usually on here. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. A CDVNL, that's in the position. That's the position he's in. It's a position that a lot of people are in. But the thing about those jobs where they pay the bills, but they aren't necessarily what we're passionate about. They're more than just something that pays the bill. They are something that we should be proud of. Um, we gain more than just money from them. We gain self we add to the world through those jobs. Those jobs are fulfilling a role within society, and we should be proud of that. Um, even if you're a plumber, even if you dig around in the poop, right? That's providing something really important for people. Like seriously, they're near the job, and or maybe you just sell hamburgers at a fast food joint, right? That's still providing something for people. It's doing more than just getting money. It's it's providing something that is good for your soul. And it teaches us respect. It teaches us lots of different things about people and environments and ourselves. So even if you have a job that doesn't you're not passionate about it, even if you had to get a job where it's like, yeah, this isn't what I want to do for the rest of my life, that's okay. Don't do it for the rest of your life, but be proud of what you do when you do it. Respect what you're doing when you're doing it, and don't dread it because it's worth more than you'll ever know. You will go throughout your rest of your life going, actually, I had a job where I was doing this and I learned this during it. Like there are so many times on this show where I think back or even reference a job that I once had that taught me about a lesson that has been helpful for the rest of my life. Um, and so, yeah, it's good to have it's important to have a good attitude about those type of things. I had a job where I was driving around 8 hours a day, and I found that time super awesome because I could listen to anything in that car, and instead of just listening to music all the time, instead of just listening to the radio and kind of doing nothing, I decided to use that time really productively. I used to pray like 2 hours a day. And it was like one of the best things that I could have ever done with my life. Like seriously, I loved that. And then I also used to sing during those periods of time, like 6 hours of singing, or maybe only four, sometimes only two, but sometimes even 8 hours straight. I would sing. Right? That's a lot of singing time. That was a great practice for my passion. So, if you're able to work two jobs at once, kind of, that's cool too. Do your job while you're thinking in your head. Like that's why I love jobs that like I don't have to think about. Most people hate those jobs. But I love them because I can do my job while thinking about something I'm passionate about and improving my skills there. So doing two things at once. Um, and so yeah, whatever kind of job you get, don't be afraid to get any kind of job because there's something important there for you to learn that you haven't learned yet. There's something important at that job place that you get offered next that is going to help you with your life that you aren't expecting. Because you would never know until it happens. And that's just the way life works. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I just want to go on one more point that you
Yeah.
had there, Ryan, about you never know what your job's going to have. Part of again, I was a golf professional. You might not know it about the fact that I'm talking to you like this. I had a death, a fear, a grand fear of talking to people in general, just talking to a single person, frightened the daylights out of me.
Really?
And part of my coming out of that was because if one of my internships for my golf program, I had to. I was going to get fired or I had to talk to people. So I just learned to talk to people. A lot of the experience that I got in that career that I left transferred. It transferred over and it helped to grow me in what I ended up doing,
Hmm.
what I am doing now. One of the things I'll pass on to you that I learned from being a golf professional was the idea of mental practice, which sounds like a joke, but if you think about what you want to do, um, there are studies where it's almost 15% as effective of actually doing the practice. So people in my instance it's golf, which is a very mental game, but thinking about what you want to do will help you actually do the thing you want to do, more than not doing it at all. So
Or not thinking at all.
maybe maybe with whatever you've got going, whether it's a new production you're focusing on or something like that, a dream you're looking at, to just mentally rehearse, how would I achieve this? How would I do this? To just rerun it over and over in your head, um, while being somewhere else or doing something else is effective practice, and it can help you to grow and become better in whatever you're doing. So with wherever you end up, wherever you're heading, just take that with you, that whatever you decide to do, to always just be um, bettering yourself, uh, to become a better person. So
Nice. Yeah, that is true. It's an interesting study. I know there are a few studies on that are done about practicing mentally, like for like a basketball game and things like that, and that they score better when they pretended in their minds that they were shooting baskets. When they weren't doing anything, they were just sitting there, right? But they were becoming better because of their mind playing it. Because mind doesn't necessarily know what's an experience and what's not, particularly sometimes. So it can train while thinking, and that is cool. Yeah, and it's a good practice for sure. Something we can all utilize.
yeah, I hope that helps, Derez. Um,
Yeah,
thank you for explaining your name. It's like
yeah,
resolution.
yeah.
That helps with the pronunciation as well. But thanks for posting. Thanks for showing us your questions, and
Hmm.
hopefully you feel encouraged. Hopefully, when you leave, you go back to whatever you're doing. Maybe tonight you feel like, or maybe it's morning for you. I don't know where you are, but you feel encouraged to just go do some whatever you want.
Yeah, 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 we do really appreciate this. It's a great topic, and one that we definitely love talking about is where you're going to go with your life. And yeah, I really do hope this helps as well. Um, so thanks. You got it right, and thank you for your help. Awesome. It is derezzed. Awesome. Sorry about slaughtering it the first time. I think I slaughtered it. Yeah, I did. Dairy Z or something. I don't know. It was really wrong. All right. Cool. So let's go on to the next one, right?
I
Um,
like it.
I think yeah, we definitely have time for one more. So yeah, I'll read through it again, although I don't think anybody else knew has come. But we've got Angel, Dead, Nox, Amira, Nathan, Bakugo Lover, Sun Ryosuke, Random, Karma, Rose, and Cherry. And I believe that Cherry is the only one that's here. If you are here, say I'm here so we can do yours. But otherwise, I don't wait. There is no otherwise to that statement, because the otherwise would be like you can't say anything, you didn't hear me say any of that. I mean, right? Like if you're here, say this. Otherwise, you didn't hear me just say that just now. It's the
So it
way.
sounds like a command and less of a request when you do it
Yeah,
that
you're
way,
right.
though.
I guess. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, we're telling you what to do now. We're not making suggestions anymore. This is you have to. Oh, hey, Kendra actually just posted one. Nice. Just posted. Awesome.
Woo.
Okay, so I guess
You want me to read this one, Ryan?
commence the battle. You two decide who wants to go first, Cherry or Kendra. No. Yeah, do you want to read it? Yeah, go for it. Which one are we doing? Which one are you planning on doing?
I guess yeah. If you guys want to fight over it, I just figured if we already did one for Cherry, we might as well.
Yeah. Cherry's is called Love, and Kendra's doesn't have a title yet.
Busy she's already 22.
Busy.
Yep. Okay.
Busy. Yep. All right. So, okay. You know what? Cherry did post first, so I'm gonna go with Cherry's.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
That's fair. Fair is fair.
Fair. You know what? Fair is not fair. Why don't you be quiet? Don't even try to tell truth and stuff. Because no. Okay. This is titled Love. It's from Cherry, and it reads. Oh wait, no. You wanted to read it. All right, go for it, Joe. Sorry.
Oh no, I'm not there anymore.
So you're. Wait. Posted in chat and posted to Jesse.
All right, Ryan posted it. That means I can read it this time. Yes. All right. Let's do this. Cherry says, quote, "The posts with single words as the titles usually means that it's a big part in my life. And now for some updates. I think I've decided I'm going to do it all. I'm going to pursue game development while making music as a background hobby. I plan to visit the college I'm planning on going to sometime this year, but I feel like game development will be my best bet. I hope to work at 343 Industries. They're the creators of Halo. And when I'm not working, I can make my own games and create music in the background as a hobby. That way I can have a stable income and will be able to do everything I love and tell all the stories I wanted to tell, all while being able to shape my own life into the story I want. I'm building my future while using the past as a foundation. I love seeing the progression within myself and seeing myself blossom." Did you get the joke? My name is Cherry, and I use the term blossom, like cherry blossom. Anyway, moving on. I like puns, so I really approve of that, Cherry. On to the issue.
Approve.
Well, I've taken the time to learn more and more about myself. I've also realized something. I've been manipulative, possessive, and controlling with the relationships I've had, and I've found out the reason why. I love people hoping to receive the equal amount of love I give, and maybe even more at times. I wish I could have someone who loved me as much as I love them, someone who give to me as much as I give to them. I know it sounds selfish, but to specify and make it seem less of like I'm greedy, I will say that I don't care about physical things. I don't care if I spend $100 on someone and they spend nothing on me. All I care about is love. for someone to love me in the ways that I love them. And that's what I mean when I say, I wish I could receive the amount that I give. How do I find someone like that? Or how do I overcome this desire?
Hmm.
Carrie.
Hmm. Thank you for that, Jerry. It's a very, very well thought out post. And it's exciting to hear that you just want to do it all. Yeah, go for it. Go for it. I'm proud of you. I am very proud of you. And, um, you know, yeah. So I'm guessing you want me to go first, right, Joe?
Yeah, Ryan, I ran out of
Did
voice
you?
thing, you know,
You know the problem is, you started it with a quote, but you didn't end it with a quote.
quote.
There it is. All right, now you should have voice again.
ah, okay. Ooh.
Ah, mm, breath of fresh air, right? Yeah. All right, cool. Um, I oh, that's awesome. People are stopping to Jerez. That's great. Um, okay. So, Cherry, I think that this is really great introspection. Again, I think it's awesome that you're just gonna go out and do whatever you can in that field and in the fields that you're passionate about. And I wish you the very best. And I'm sure that either way, no matter what you accomplish there, it's gonna be more than not doing anything. So keep that in mind. Um, you know, you might want the world and not be able to get the world. But the fact that you're just going to try it, you're just going to try whatever comes your way, whatever opportunity comes, that's the right attitude. Absolutely. Especially when you're just starting off and you've got you've got no obligations, particularly in that field of like, oh, I have to spend my time, at work. And you don't necessarily, if you don't necessarily have that yet, I think that's wonderful because now you're in a position where you can try to take on the world and then you'll bite off what you can chew and then you'll at least have that. Right. Um, I think that's great. There are many times where, uh, you know, um, people don't want to, like we just talking about the last subject, people don't want to work where they aren't passionate, like they don't want to have a job where they're not passionate about something. Um, but again, that can be something really rewarding. And uh, you don't know until you give it that opportunity. And so having an opportunistic attitude towards life is really important. And also having an opportunistic attitude towards life allows you to see what opportunities are out there. When we can't, when we aren't thinking about what's out there, what opportunities exist, we don't see what's out there. For example, um, I cannot tell you anything about the local jobs that are hiring right now. I have no idea. But if I was searching for a job, I would, right? That's just how it is. Of course I wouldn't know because I wouldn't been looking, right? I might pass by a store every single day and not even notice they say, "Hey, we're hiring," because I'm not paying attention to it. If I'm really looking for a job, like I could be driving down the street and not even looking for it and it comes across the corner of my eye and I'm like, "Wait a minute, they're hiring?" Like, because now my mind is focused on that. What we're focused on in life helps us to see what opportunities are out there. Um, so having a desire to chase something is one of the most important steps to actually achieving anything. It sounds so obvious, but it's not. It's not. We a lot of times we expect, okay, this is what I'm good at, so things should fall in my lap, right? But they don't. They don't. You have to start looking. You have to start being able to be willing to get out there and do something. A lot of times we're not willing to get out there and do something. We're like, I'm already packed already. I have all of these other obligations, and I'm not looking to do more. You know, um, but the people who are looking to do more are the ones that find the opportunities. So it's definitely great to see you acquiring this attitude, and I think that's really exciting for me to see that. Okay, so anyways, onto the issue, right? I've given myself a little bit of time to think about it. No, um, yeah. So you love people, and you want to receive that love back. And, it's a natural human desire to want to receive love. Since the time we are born as infants, um, we desire love. We desire affection. We desire care. We desire food too. But we have a lot of desires, but we also have emotional human desires. Um, as we grow up, those desires form and shape in different ways. Um, Sometimes they get shaped into more pure ways, like, uh, and sometimes they get skewed by certain views about what this particular thing is. Um, Sometimes we desire things based on um, what other people tell us is good. Like some people in some cultures, might say, um, as a human being, you are more valuable as a human being if you get more work done, because then you're doing more for society, you're doing more for everybody around us, and you're doing more for yourself, and you're doing more for your family. So if you get work done, you're more valuable as a human being. And those societies, they might even do things like euthanasia, where they kill people who are old because they're not doing things anymore because they can't. Um, and that's not a good position. That's not a very good society. It's not a good rule, right? But that is a point of view that might drive us to say, I'm going to do as much as I possibly can because I want to be the most valuable person I can be. Unfortunately, because of the desire, the misunderstanding of what it means to be human and valuable, it creates a very wrong desire within us. The desire is not evil. We want to be valued. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, but the way it's been programmed into us is kind of evil, because it belittles you as a human being, saying that, hey, if you don't work today, you are useless. And that's a terrible thing to say about someone. And it's also not true. Um, and it's also, again, evil. Um, and so sometimes just society or the different viewpoints we have can lead us to um, value something about the world that is not valuable, give us a wrong insight that we chase after, and come to a dead end where we feel used and valueless and broken. Um, and that happens in a lot of different areas. And I think love is one of those. There's a kind of an idea that love is all about that emotion, right? And we're not talking about that kind of love here. You're not talking about people pouring that emotion into you, but a lot of, like Hollywood, for example, gives the idea that love is the emotion, and so people chase that emotional high, and they come to an end of when that emotion fades, and they feel like they're empty, and then they say, "I guess I just didn't love that person," and they're chasing an emotion which doesn't bear much fruit. Um, and that kind of puts them on a path that leads to a dead end, and it's not good. Um, and so instead, we have to define what love is so that we don't go down that road. And because desiring love is normal, it's human, it's good. But what is love, right? And I think love, a lot of people show it in many different ways. But the ultimate reality of love is to the ultimate definition is to desire what is best for another person and being willing to do what it takes to get them that. Sometimes we mistake love for affection, um, where affection is um, not necessarily the desire for the best of another, but the desire for the person. And both are good. Um, but love is placed above affection because affection is more about us than it is about the other person, whereas love is entirely about the other person and not a whole lot about us. So, in this scenario, I think you have a great amount of affection for other people, and that's good. That's a beautiful thing. Having affection for people helps those people know that we desire them, that we care about them, that we not it does show our love, but it also shows that they're important. And I think that that is a wonderful thing that you give, that you can shower people in that affection, that let them know that they're important to you. People, any human being in the world, every human being in the world wants to know that they're important to somebody. Um, and so I think what you want though in return is affection and not love. Um, because people do love you and people want the best of you. But maybe they're not giving you enough affection. Maybe they're not making you feel as though you're important. Um, and I think when it comes to that, it's one of those things where you just have to kind of take a step back. I don't know. This is my perspective, but I would have to take a step back and just say, well, am I a better person if they show me affection? And I would have to say, no, I'm not any different of a person if they show me affection. Um, in fact, them showing me affection only shows how much I matter to them, but that doesn't change who I am, right? That's just their emotion or their feelings. That's not my emotions and my feelings. It's one of those things where affection is a gift we can give to others, but I think desiring the return of it um, maybe doesn't do us a whole lot of good. So I might be taking things the wrong way. I might be a misunderstanding here, and I'm sorry if I am. But the way I would react to this, if this were in my brain, I would say, you know what, Brian, you don't need their affection. All you need is to be the best person you can be. And you're definitely good enough, right? It doesn't matter if you're important to Will Smith. I don't even know Will Smith. I don't need to be important to him, right? And I might even send him like mail, right? If I like wrote a letter and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're my favorite actor. I love the color of your hair. You have two beautiful children or more. I don't know how many he has, right?" And I shower this affection onto him, right? And he's never going to return that. It was a gift from my heart. It felt good to send that out, even if he doesn't read it. The idea of him reading it and hoping that he reads it and it makes him feel good is automatically a return in itself. It's like giving them that smile on their face was all that it mattered to me. Letting them know how much I care about them is what matters to me. That's why I share my affection. Um, and I think to truly love someone, and truly give a gift, to truly have a pure sense of affection for another person, it is to give without hopes of return. Because if we hope for a return, then our gift is kind of sullied. It's like we're doing it because we want something in return, right? And so I think that if I was doing that, I would try to figure out a way to get myself to stop doing that. I would start doing things in hopes nobody noticed I did them at all. I would go do the dishes, right? And not tell anybody that I did them in private. Like, like nobody knows, nobody in the house knows I just did the dishes. And they're gonna find out like, wait, where'd the dishes go? Who did the Oh, it must have been my husband. I guess he must have got the idea to do it. And it's like, no, I did it. It's like do good things without anybody knowing that you're doing them is a really good way to encourage yourself that desire of giving without any return, without hopes of any return. You don't want other people to get anything back because that puts your mind in the right perspective where you aren't broken down when people don't return that affection. If you give people affection and they don't return it and that makes you hurt inside, again, that's very normal. That is very human. But I think that it isn't good for you. It means that you're giving affection not because you want them to feel good, but rather the ultimate point of you giving affection is because you want them to give you affection. And that's really about yourself and not really about them. And it's kind of like again, it's tying in affection with love. It's putting the two together and saying, I'm doing this for them. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I just want to do this for them. I think that's a beautiful, that is, that is human. That's beyond human. Like that's when you can take your humanness and rise above it. You have an animal instinct because humans are animals, and then you're taking that animal instinct and you're just kind of saying, I can be even better. I can just do this solely for that person out of the good of my heart. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Anyways, I talked for a really long time and I apologize, but I'm going to give it over to Joe and let him say some things, like good things instead of
Yeah, good things.
good thing. Oh, there you said it.
Yay.
Told you guys.
That's it.
That's
Well,
it. All right, see you guys. Have a good night. No, I'm just
the no, and Ryan makes some really good points. And I think it's important at this stage, like Ryan said, to take the introspective look. What does love mean to you? Because that's if you don't start there, then the rest of your thinking about it is going to be difficult because it's going to be free floating. So, what is love to you? Um, for some of us, for me personally, um, it's kind of an unconditional, like Ryan said, wanting the best for someone other than yourself. Um, but unconditional would be you're not expecting a return. I'm an accountant, so I'm going to try and do some accounting with you guys, but hopefully it's not too boring. If I loan somebody $100, um, they're not any better off than before I loaned them $100 because now they have $100 and they owe me $100. In the situation of their business or their life, they're in the same position as before I loaned them $100. And I'm going to change it. 100 love. Love is our new currency today. I gave them 100 love.
ah, sweet.
So they have 100 love, but they also owe me 100 love.
Can I has 100 left? Sorry.
Yes, you can
I
have
like the
100
term.
love.
Thank you.
I would love you 3,000.
Aw, that's pretty good. It's not over 9,000 though, so.
Sorry.
Sorry, go on.
I don't have that much love.
That's all right. It's all right. No one does.
um,
Sorry, I'm sorry. Go on. Go on.
but all that to say, if I give love and expect nothing in return, as they get that, they receive $100 and owe nothing back, then they're in a better position than they had been before I gave them that love.
That's
They don't
beautiful.
owe anything. They've been built up. They are 100 love increased, whatever that particular thing means. That is the joys of unconditional love. Is you get to see somebody built up by the amount of love that you pour into them without expecting anything back. And the wonderful thing about doing those things is oftentimes you do get to see that benefit. If you're not looking for that benefit, you'll often see that happen anyway. But what we're talking about here is to when you pour into somebody, you're not looking for the benefit coming back to yourself. And I know that you've kind of had this introspection already. You're thinking yourself, it sounds kind of selfish. And it's because as humans, we have a natural desire, like Ryan said, to want to be loved. That's normal. That's good. If you don't have that desire, that generally means that something's wrong. So wanting to be loved is a good thing. And it causes us to do many great things. But when that is the end all be all of who we are, we get into some problems. So in what we're talking about today, I want to encourage you when you feel this emotion, this desire, don't let it bring about shame for being manipulative or possessive or controlling. Those things that have happened, those are in the past, and that might be a thing to understand and to reflect on. But don't let that desire shame you into not showing love, because it can be very easy to say, I'm just doing this because. But don't let that thought cross your mind to prevent you from showing whatever love you have to the people around you, because withholding it prevents it from going anywhere. If I loan somebody $100, let's say I want the $100 back, and I loan somebody a hundred love, and then after I've loaned it to them, I say, you know what? I love this person. I don't want the $100 back. They're still in that better place. So all that to say, just give the love that you have. And as you're working on the unconditional aspect of it, just remember, it's okay. It's normal to want to be loved back, but don't focus on that. Instead, focus on the giving of the love. So I hope that made sense.
I like the analogy there. That was great.
I talk in accounting speak, and sometimes I forget if that makes.
Yeah, no, that's totally great. That's totally great. Yeah, sometimes it's interesting. We do things. Sometimes we act kind because we want others to like us. Not because we want to be kind, but because we want others to like us. And the thing about that is you're still being kind. And that's great. Just because you want other people to like you and that's your sole reason of being kind doesn't mean being kind is bad. Being kind is still a great thing. And it's awesome. More on you. That's like nothing to be shameful about there. If you're being manipulative, right? Then just realize that and say, you know what? I must try to stop doing that. But still be kind, I think that's important. I think yeah, just like Joe was saying. Exactly, just the way it is. I think sometimes we have ulterior motives, right? But it still causes us to do good things, and those good things are still good. So yeah, don't like Joe was saying, you have to be willing to forgive yourself, and I think that's really, really, really important. You can't don't shame yourself into not trying anymore, right? I think it's important to keep on being kind and affectionate and loving and so on. So yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I don't really know that there's much more we can give you here, Cherry. You've reflected on it. You put a very large um, block here of just dealing with, just voicing what you're dealing with, and I think that's a huge step. That's a huge movement forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do the reverse of Ryan, and I'm actually just going to say I really am encouraged by your desire to just go out and do everything that you can do. Spread as much love as you can spread. Try as many things as you can try. Game development and music. I mean, those are very different things, but they're spreading you out and helping you to grow in ways maybe that you didn't ever know. And so just go for it. I mean, recognizing all the things that you've thought about, it's apparent from your writing that you've spent some time, you've considered these things, and this is where you want to go, which is even better when you take a dream and consider all the different parts and aspects of it and still say, yes, that's what I want to do. That's awesome. So go for it.
Absolutely. Very good. Very cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you, every one of you, for sharing with us this journey. Thanks for being here for us. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the support that you give each other in the chat, and the good times, the funny things you guys makes me laugh. So yeah, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys, and special thanks to Jesse for being our producer, and to Princess for helping us out behind the scenes. We really appreciate that so much. And thank you so much for filling in for Joe today. Please, everybody, give a round of applesauce to Joe for filling in for Joe today, because he's awesome. And he did a great job, for sure. He did a really great job. So, yeah, cool. Any final words? Like you're dying.
Yeah.
Any
final words? But no, thanks to Ryan. I don't know. Let's give another backwards round of applesauce.
Ryan,
you can have it back.
It's
not that I don't. Where are you going? Bye, Ryan. Bye.
I can't get out of frame. What the heck?
But all right. Well, he's gone.
Yep.
It's a pleasure to have you here. But thanks to Ryan for just being here and being here every day. So not even missing a Don't Worry Wednesday.
Not even
So
every day, even. It's
every day, even
yeah.
on Thursday, days that end in Y. Thank you all for being here. If you haven't already, most of you posted questions on the website, which I highly encourage. But if you haven't been over there, go to the website. It's a great place. The people here that encourage you in the chat and are here on the stream are there at the website. And so it's a place to, between streams and between things going on, like to just reach out and be a part of that community day in and day out instead of every Wednesday. Or you can Don't Worry on Thursday too, if that's your thing. So head on over to the website if you haven't gone there already.
Nice.
Shameless plug.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. We appreciate that. We appreciate that shameless plug. No. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. We love you all, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Enjoy. Bye.